At me, bro, for sure. What's up? I just did a video on something that was important, like my views on pro-life. But I, I wanted to say this. This has nothing to do with anything, but it's a little anecdote because I was just thinking about it since the last video had to do with Netflix and boycotts, and I said I can speak on it, but it's not like it affects me anyways because I don't watch movies or shows even. But I was at work, where I was working with someone, a colleague, and this male and this female, if we can say that in 2019. And the female's way younger than me, and I'm 26. And the dude I work with is way older than me, like twice as much, just to get an idea of what we're looking at. So it's not just my generation. But they're talking about, well, sometimes I'm afraid of the way things are now to watch Netflix because if I get invested in something and then there's a spoiler or something, if I know something, the character that I like dies or whatever, and I go, yeah, that's what sucks. Said it's kind of like falling in love with a girl who has cancer, because eventually, it's not gonna last. Like eventually, you're gonna be heartbroken, like with the show. And I thought that was a pretty, quaint and succinctly put point and opinion on something I don't even like watching shows and binge watching and all that, which is what they were talking about. I just don't like the constantly nerdy. I'm zany and I'm frequently sarcastic. I'm thinking of the Nick F thing. But that's the type of people I don't like that act like watching movies is a talent or watching shows is a talent. Because they're like mini Hollywood, but they didn't. They're like, well, you could write that in a column, or you could write that down for things that are like crazy analogies, like too absurd. It's not really absurd. You got what is it then? What would be a good analogy? Because you guys talk about movies like they're to live or die for, like I'm going with my family. They're going to see a play. We're going to see that. We're going for film, and then I'd make an analogy of something of that much importance to say if I looked at it, if I fell in love with a girl, because I think falling in love with a girl is a little more important than watching a movie, or a show, or like if you were crushed, you fall in love with your significant other that has cancer, so it's eventually gonna. That's what they act like with the movies as well. I hate to get invested because spoilers and blah 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 and this and that. Because people have the ability to binge watch, they don't jump on it while it's hot, and I understand that, but I just thought it was stupid. And it makes me think about the way words are. I was telling them they act like it's important that the analogy be 100% correct. Like, well, it's not as extreme with the movies. Well, let's stop talking about it like it is. And with the words and the way we look and appreciate things within society, I told them how crazy it was that whenever we look for somebody that's on a spree of killings, and they always say murderers, right? A spree of murders, we call them a serial killer. And I go, but a serial killer could be somebody, because to me, killing, and to the way the English language technically, and especially in the Bible, people misinterpret "thou shalt not kill." It's "thou shalt not murder." They're not the same. A serial killer, they always use that as somebody that goes around and purposely kills people, which is a murder. You have to premeditate killing somebody for it to be murder, and that's no matter what a serial killer does. The way they're portrayed, they've always planned to kill these people, and they do these things to get rid of the bodies and all this stuff, right? They develop a routine. That's a murderer. I think it's funny that we don't use the term serial murderer, and it wouldn't be mass murderer because mass has to do with all at one time. We've got that. We don't say mass killer. And I guess a serial killer, like to me, a serial killer would be technically somebody who just has really bad luck in car wrecks or something and kills people, even if it's not their fault, right? Because sometimes you can somebody technically kills himself by pulling out in front of you or something, right? If you had that bad luck over and over and over, you would be quote unquote a serial killer, but you wouldn't be a serial murderer, if that makes sense. And I really just wanted to rant about that. They do it with a lot of different things. You've heard me in other videos, like what the term marriage might mean, what the term equality means, Just a lot of words that people will take, and there's more than one meaning to them. And they'll like love or tolerance. Like people say tolerance is a good thing. Tolerance isn't a good thing. If you've ever asked an alcoholic like if they'd like to save money by lowering their tolerance, they would. Developing a tolerance to certain things is bad. Like people say, well, wow, he sure can put up with a lot of shit. It's like, yeah, but that's not, he's still having to put up with it. The problem is still there. The tolerance is fine. The endurance is fine. But the problem is still there. The problem that you have to endure. So it's not really fixing anything. And the people that use that term tolerance, they're not tolerant. I mean, this is like old hat shit. This is old by now, but it still pertains. You build a tolerance for something. You're not supposed to tolerate things you don't agree with. And people say, well, not even violence. No, we're talking about people that be tolerant. Be tolerant. Don't even speak up. Don't even. That's not tolerance. That's forced. That's forced tolerance, and tolerance is already bad. And it's just like when they use the term love. Love is love. Marriage isn't about, well, and sex isn't love. Sex is a reproductive thing. I went through this in other videos. I'm trying to round up and think of a bunch of different words that I have just fucking beef with. Love, a lot of stuff that people lust over people. They love, oh, that's love. That's not love. And people try to use the shit on you about passion and I have passion for this, more passion than you. Passion's not good. Passion can control you because you're all hot. I know the way people use it, but like what it really means is that you're into something and it can control you. You want compassion, like being able to think on behalf of others in the sense that what they're going through and other things like that. But you don't get ensconced in their crap because you're not you're not passionate about solving the problem. You're compassionate about understanding and listening. And with the love thing, they always use that against me. That's one of my beefs because with the Christian thing, well, Christians seem to they love their Bible except for the part about they always skip the part about love your neighbor. Loving your neighbor just means not hating them. It doesn't mean, hey, yeah neighbor, here, keep doing things that I don't agree with. Here, I'm not going to say anything about your lifestyle choices that I think are hurting you. Or if they do that, they would do that in England for sure. Now it is somebody could rape your daughter or something. And in Sweden, there's wherever it was over there, some guy had gotten raped by a Muslim, a migrant, and they felt bad because they got found out and he ended up deported. The guy who got raped felt bad about being raped, and it resulted in the dude being deported. They do that every year. Like some of these people in liberal California, not the state, but in the liberal areas of California, could probably be hit head on and killed by an illegal immigrant running from the law, and then the family would probably go to the funeral of the person that or go to miss the funeral of their own family member to attend the hearing, the court hearing of the person that ended up killing their family member. And my daughter, I love her to death, but she shouldn't have been out there. She should have known, to stay in her lane. That's what it would have been like. It'd been something fucked up. That's not love that all these people preach. They want you to think that love means, well, I'm just going to sit here and take it. I'm not going to speak up against, if you will, if my own flesh and blood brother is shooting up drugs or doing this, me standing up to him and saying, I don't agree with that, or I want what's best for you, and I know this, I've seen you at your best, and this isn't your best. That's not love. That's bringing conflict. It's only bringing conflict if you're the person that's trying to brainwash other people to stop telling you that you're doing wrong. Well, what happened to live and let live? Well, live and let live. The other side is not doing that to you. They always love to use these words that have different meaning. Love is just not hating. Love doesn't mean, well, I have to go out in the street and in a gay pride parade, butt naked, paint my butt cheeks the 6 stripes, right? Whatever they mean. I don't have to participate in it. Not wanting to not wanting to go down there and do certain things. Not that I would advise whatever you think I'm thinking about, but love is not embracing people's lifestyle. It's just not having hate for the person. It's understanding that what they're going through is not good and that you want the best for them out of it. It's the people that love to scream love that have hate for people, because just disagreeing with somebody sparks that inner conflict in themselves, and they think that if you're gone, that it's not going to still be there. I mentioned that, before. That's what they want to try to utilize the word love for. Well, it's just love, man. Free love. It's the new global homo religion that they want to do is everybody love, which just mean, like if you've been in your 1984, your Fahrenheit 451 type of books, that's the dystopians, the Brave New World, that they eventually want everybody to just have this one big thing where, we don't speak out about each other, with the hammer that sticks up the most gets the nail, the overcorrection, and just don't tolerate everybody's life. Tolerate everybody's bullshit. Otherwise, you're not a good neighbor. You're not a good guy. You're not a loving person. If your friend is gonna go out on the street drunk and try to get in his car and drive off, taking your keys from him is such a hateful act. That's not love. That's not tolerance. You have to tolerate that he wants to drive. No, he has to tolerate the fact that I know what's best for him at the time. Me keeping him from killing himself or other people is love. Tough love. You ever heard of the term tough love? I think that's about all I want to say about all this stuff, and there'll probably be something else. I'll probably just name this something about a rant or whatever. But I wanted to get that out. At least the ones that I can cover for now that have come to mind while I'm uploading my other video of words that have been tainted. Same with pride. I said that earlier. Pride, it's only used by gays now, and gay and pride is actually a sin. Whether you're religious or not, pride can get you in trouble. Pride is, they've got stories. The tortoise and the hare isn't religious. The rabbit, the hare got cocky. Cocky's a slang for, like a rooster, cock of the walk, strutting your chest out. You get cocky, don't get cocky, kid. All these movies, there's room to get fucked up because you're not aware, you're not thinking. You think, I've got this, nothing I can do can touch me. And whether that's your quote unquote sexual pride or all this stuff, even terms like liberated. I'm liberated. From what? Some of these people sexually liberated from what? You walked out of monogamy into a cesspool of degeneracy, unhappiness, diseases, a lot of which have no cure. You've embraced modernity at the expense of not being mothers and fathers and discarding your children before you could even have them. It's just a fucking mess. And a lot of it has to do, I know as a person who studies propaganda, from the art point of view especially, but a lot of it, after you get out of the symbols of it, it's, not, a lot of people can get to this level, which is the scary part, but some people get past the symbols, even today, and they start formulating sentences in their mind of what they think and how they want to represent themselves and what they think they believe. And you don't think that perverting language and changing things or adding all these new things, Z and Zer, and we're gonna gender neutral and all that stuff is still, that's an extension. The words are an extension, and I'll catch them sometimes. It's just weird to try and think back on some of them, because you'll see them in the other videos that I do. I'll call them out as I see them. The way that they even with stuff like in Europe, they get African whatever, or not African but Asian, arrested for about to blow a train up in London. And technically Pakistan and all these other places, they are Asian, but that the UK doesn't give a fuck about, in the sense that, well, we want to be accurate, we're going to refer to everyone by the continent. Because if it's somebody that they think is a white nationalist from Norway, they don't go Norway, or they don't go Europe, they just go Norway, They don't call us North Americans. Somebody came over here to go over there, they'd call us an American or Mexican or whatever. But it's because they want to be sneaky with the language. Asian, when you think Asian, whether you think this is right or not, and it technically is kind of odd, that you only think of Japanese and Chinese, or a lot of them Malaysians and Vietnamese, but and Cambodians and all that. But because the Pakistan and stuff like that, you think stereotypically desert. You think Middle East. You refer to those places as Middle East, but they're in the continent of Asia. And so I think that the people are not trying to be, let's be 100% grammatically correct, because the people in England are taking down billboards because women look like women and they're in swimsuits, and it's offending Muslims, it's offending feminists the same. They're like that, Muslim men and feminists, because they're still masculine. The men are. They don't give a shit what the woman thinks, which I'd say is ultimately what the woman wants, and I get bitched at. And look, they prove it in spades. But in London, all these people want all this stuff gone, and they don't have a problem with naming other stuff the way it is. But whenever it comes to that, they say, well, it's a migrant that did that. It's a migrant or an Asian that did that. Someone of Asian descent. And I think it's to cover for what country it's from. Because there's not a lot of Chinese Asians and Japanese Asians and Cambodian Asians that are blowing up synagogues and threatening to shoot up train stations and things like that. And the reason that there's Lego blocks now on the roads or around France, there's got to be bulletproof glass around the Eiffel Tower. It's not the Asians you think. These are not the Asians you're looking for, like droids. It's just really disingenuous, and a lot of that stuff you could let slide. In America here, they say illegal migrants. It used to be illegal, illegal citizens. They'll do stuff like illegal citizens eventually. Or they say undocumented now, undocumented migrants. No, they're illegal. Undocumented, illegal covers the term. Illegal implies that they're undocumented. You see, they know they don't need to do that to make it more clear. They're doing that so that they can make you get used to saying, well, they're illegal's a weird word. They're really just undocumented. He's really not an alcoholic. He just drinks every day, and sometimes it's too much. It's not fixing it. He's not. It's not actually like with coma. Coma comes from deep sleep in Greek. Well, he's not really dead. He's just he's asleep just forever. They like that sugarcoat these words to see what they can get away with. And it's really illegal alien is what it used to be. You're an alien, and people say, well, alien, what you talking about? Alien, they're not from another planet. It's like, you fucking idiot. Alien is a verb, or not a verb, but an adjective, meaning not of wherever you're at or whatever you're referring to in the context of it is. Like to my brother, he's never had long hair. Long hair is alien to my brother. It's odd. People say, oh, you're going to call immigrants odd. No, they're an outlier, though, by default, because they're coming in. They're immigrating here from somewhere else. They would already be assimilated if they weren't the outlier. And so you say, well, getting into semantics, you have to get into semantics when people are already messing with word after word after word. But they're coming up now as I'm thinking about it. But the one at the border is a big one, the United States one. And the shit they do when they say reproductive rights. Reproductive rights with a woman. It's not reproductive rights. You're choosing to not reproduce. And it's not a woman's body, because a woman doesn't have 4 arms and 4 legs during a pregnancy. Even if they want the baby, we don't say that. I'm glad I kept going, because one of the main ones I wanted to say was Planned Parenthood. What an oxymoron. It's like it's in your face to be ha-ha. I call it unplanned unparenthood, because it's obviously not planned, because if you need an abortion, it's because you didn't know you were pregnant. A lot of these people with the 6 week, well, 6 weeks is not enough time with the heartbeat ban bill, the ban abortion after 6 weeks, because we don't know if we got it or not. So by default, you're already saying and proving no shit, but that abortion is to terminate a pregnancy. So it's not planned. Your parenthood wasn't planned, Because you're not first of all, you're not going into parenthood. That's why it's unparenthood. You're taking away the responsibility of becoming a parent by aborting your offspring. And then planned is so stupid because you didn't plan it. Nobody plans to have a kid just to abort it unless they're a sick fucker or they're harvesting the body parts and they're in on it with the doctor. You see how oxymoron that is? I mean, and that's the deepest one, because people always say stuff like Black Lives Matter. Well, if you look at the results, they really don't care. We know they don't care about Black Lives Matter. They don't care about the Black Lives. It's just, they always choose the worst person to try and represent that was a criminal. And if there's other types of black people that are really fucked over, they don't want to talk about them if they don't fit a certain narrative. Like, oh, it was a black person that killed this black person, so it doesn't feed the white on black narrative. But the one with the Planned Parenthood is really weird, because Planned Parenthood, it's unplanned. Getting pregnant by accident, which you act like is happening en masse, or people getting raped. You think that people plan to get raped during the day? You always say that you need abortion because of rape. So rape is planned. Rape is planned. Maybe by the rapist. Not even then a lot of times. But that's not planned. You see what I mean? Unplanned, unparenthood. Planned Parenthood. Like, it's a double oxymoron. It's like quad level. And I'm about to wrap this up. I'm landing the plane, as Owen Benjamin would say. And I only bring his name up because I thought that was a cool phrase, and I don't want people to think I made it up. Or, I mean, whether he did or not, I heard it from him. But I'm zeroing in, you know. You guys let me know what you think. As always, Political Dank House. It's your boy, L. Ron Humperdinck. DJ Lamberry on Twitter. IG and Gab's the same. Political Dank House, you know where to follow us. And right here on YouTube. Shaka, bruh.